Imagine waking up in the dead of night, to whispers in the darkness. Doors creak open on their own, the smell of rotting flesh fills the air, and shadows move, even when there's no one there. This isn't the plot of a horror movie. This is the real story of the Perron family haunting, the case that terrified a family, shook the paranormal world, and became Ed and Lorraine Warren's second most terrifying encounter. Let me take you back, to 1971. Chapter 1, The Move to Hell, How It All Started. The Perron family, Roger and Carolyn Perron, along with their 5 daughters, Andrea, Nancy, Christine, Cindy, and April, were looking for a peaceful life in the countryside. They found a farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. A colonial-era home built in 1736, sitting quietly on 200 acres of farmland. The price was right, the view was stunning, and to the Perrons, it felt like a fresh start. But the moment they moved in, something was off. The first sign came from the family dog. It refused to enter the house. It growled, barked, and whined, pacing anxiously. That very night, the dog was found dead outside, under mysterious circumstances. They should have turned back then. But it was already too late. Chapter 2, The Haunting Begins. The early activity was unsettling, but not immediately horrifying. Carolyn began noticing small things, a broom missing, then reappearing elsewhere. Dirt piles on the kitchen floor she hadn't made. Doors opening on their own. Clock stopping at 3:07 a.m. Whispering voices. The girls would hear giggles, clapping, and feel tugging at their bedsheets while they slept. Sometimes, they saw a little boy watching them from corners, only to disappear. Then, it escalated. Andrea Perron, the eldest daughter, recalled one chilling moment. A disembodied voice whispered in my ear, telling me things no one should know. One night, while Carolyn was alone in the basement, she felt a chilling presence behind her. Then, a whisper, hissing, "Get out." Chapter 3, The Dark History of the House. Carolyn began digging into the property's history. What she found was horrifying. The land had seen multiple tragic deaths over the centuries, murders, suicides, drownings, and mysterious illnesses. But one name stood out, Bathsheba Sherman. Bathsheba had lived in the house during the 1800s. Locals whispered that she was a witch, an alleged worshipper of Satan, who had sacrificed her infant to the devil by driving a needle into its skull. Though never convicted, she was shunned by the town. She eventually died, supposedly by hanging herself in the backyard tree. The Perrons believed her spirit had never left. Carolyn started to experience what she described as possessive behavior, a force trying to take over her body. She would wake with bruises, scratches, and strange markings. She would go into trances, speaking in tongues, and screaming uncontrollably. Chapter 4, Enter Ed and Lorraine Warren. Desperate and terrified, the Perrons reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologist and clairvoyant couple. The Warrens were already building a reputation for confronting the darkest corners of the supernatural. When they arrived at the Perron house, Lorraine claimed she immediately felt a heavy, oppressive energy. She later said, "It felt like the walls were watching me." Lorraine believed the house had many spirits, but the dominant force, the malevolent one, was indeed Bathsheba. Chapter 5, The Investigation and Attempted Exorcism. The Warrens launched a full investigation. They installed recording devices, motion detectors, and even held séances to communicate with the spirits. What they found was horrifying. Lorraine saw visions of death and suffering. She felt the presence of Bathsheba, who she said wanted Carolyn gone, and had claimed the house as her domain. During one séance, Carolyn became the focal point of an attack. She screamed violently, her body levitating, then was thrown across the room. Andrea, her daughter, later said, "I watched in horror. My mother was no longer my mother. Something else was inside her." The Warrens believed an exorcism was necessary, but they were not authorized to perform one officially. The church never sanctioned it. The Perrons, meanwhile, were emotionally and psychologically broken. Chapter 6, The Aftermath and Departure. Fearing Carolyn's life was in danger, the family endured the haunting for nearly 10 years, from 1971 to 1980. They couldn't afford to move, and even when they tried, the paranormal activity would follow them, or worsen. Eventually, without an exorcism, Ed and Lorraine were forced to withdraw, knowing they couldn't solve the case entirely without church support. Lorraine later admitted, "It was one of the most emotionally draining investigations of our lives." The Perrons finally left the house in the early 1980s. To this day, Andrea Perron, now an adult, claims, "The house never wanted us there. We were intruders in a realm we didn't understand." She wrote 3 volumes titled House of Darkness, House of Light, chronicling every detail of the hauntings. Chapter 7, Legacy of Terror, The Conjuring and Beyond. In 2013, The Conjuring brought this terrifying tale to the big screen, dramatizing the events and the Warrens' role. Though the movie took creative liberties, the Perron family stood by its truth: the house was haunted. Evil lingered there. The Warrens considered the Perron case one of the most emotionally complex and spiritually dangerous they ever faced. It tested their limits. It haunted them long after they left Harrisville. Even today, the house exists. It has had many owners. Some report no activity. Others refuse to speak about it. But one thing remains clear. The Perron family haunting wasn't just a case. It was a war between the living and the dead. And only those who survived know how real it truly was. So next time you move into an old house, listen closely. Feel the air. Trust your instincts. Because you never know who, or what, was there before you. And some spirits never leave. White heavy checkmark. Don't forget to subscribe for more chilling true stories from the dark side. Candle. This is Shadow Whispers, where fear finds a voice.